remove his Maya. And it's important for book distributors to understand that you go out there and you actually talk to the super soul in their hearts. I remember when I was in book distribution, I was talking to a body, and most people there completely, they either look weird or they talk weird or they act weird. And but that's the mode of passion when you relate to a body. In the mode of goodness, you relate to the soul. You see the soul inside everything, part of the same whole. In the mode of ignorance, you only see the work. You identify by the work. You see, here's a scientist, here's a sportsman, here's a football player, here's an ice hockey player, here's a tennis player. You just see the work. You identify yourself by your work. I'm a tennis player. That's the mode of ignorance. Knowledge in the mode of ignorance. Knowledge in the mode of passion is you just see the body. Here's a black guy, here's a white guy, here's a Chinese, here's an Indian, here's an American. That's the mode of passion. But in the mode of goodness, you see the soul in all living entities. And you see that we are all part of the same, we are all parts of the same whole, and therefore we are all in the family because we have the same Father. So it's only from that platform that there can actually be unity in the world. People speak a lot about unity in the world, but there won't be any unity until we realize and accept that we have the same Father. Even in religions, they argue about, my God is the right one. Even other religions, they won't even accept that it's the same God. I sometimes speak to Christians and I say, can you understand there's only one God? It's idiotic to think that God is Christian or Muslim or Hindu. God is God, and according to different cultural conditionings, people call God by different names, but they can't even understand that. Even though it's so obvious that there's only one God and He's called by different, just like the sun. Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. There's one sun, but it's called by different names in different countries. Surya, sun, Sol, and so on. But it's the same thing we're speaking about, so the same thing with God. So when people come to that understanding, yes, we are all in the same family because we are all parts and parcel of God, whether you call Him one thing or the other, then there can be unity. Prabhupada once said that in the future, the people will thank the Hare Krishnas for having saved the world. So that's actually what we are doing. We are saving the world. Hare Krishna used to tell us if there weren't any devotees in the planet, this modern society would already have been blown away by nature. You can see nature is very, very angry at the modern culture because it's so sinful. But because they are devotees, the transition between this modern demonic society and the golden age of Mahaprabhu, it will be less turbulent, less violent, I think, because they are devotees. Because otherwise, you can see some places on the planet just get blasted constantly by nature. Like there was this guy from Bangladesh yesterday, and it's a fact, Bangladesh gets blasted constantly. Every time there's a flood, like in Mayapur they have a dam blocking the river, and I think they make electricity by the pressure. So, and sometimes they are so corrupt that because if they open all the gates when it's been raining a lot up north and the Ganges is really powerful and rising, and you open several gates, gushes down and floods whole West Bengal and Bangladesh, but it always hits Bangladesh the worst, every time. And they sometimes do that, the officials, they do that because they open an extra gate so there will be flooding. And so then when the central government sends relief money, then they pocket the relief money. That's how corrupt they are. Nature's forces are very, very powerful, and there's nothing we can do about it. And many places on the planet, it's just like Maya, she's just pounding on nature because she's so angry. All these animals are being killed and all this sinful activities going on. Basically, the animal slaughter is the absolute worst. They slaughter animals at an insane rate. They slaughter chickens, 7,000 chickens a second on this planet. Can you imagine it? 7,000 chickens a second on the whole planet. It's just insane. Every second a child is being abducted or abused, a woman is being raped, every second on the planet. So this is the world we live in. So when people they ask, oh, why, if there was a God, why can't he do something about this? He could. Krishna could just snap his fingers and everything would be Satya again. And he does. That's what Mahaprabhu does. He has snapped his fingers and given us the Hare Krishna mantra and started the Satya Yuga. But when Krishna snaps his fingers, it may be 50 years in his time. For us it's 50 years, for Krishna it's just like now. But for us it takes like 50, 100 years. So Krishna, he's actually doing that. He's starting the golden age and he's taking away all the misery. And that's what we have to assist him in, and we are helping him with doing that. And we are doing that by distributing books and singing and going on Harinam and distributing prasadam. That's how we are starting the golden age. And because you can see more and more people, they get enlightened, they believe in reincarnation. Karma is a common, most people, they take it as a fact, they speak about it, and more and more people become vegetarians. And we may think, well, that's nice, but we should understand this is the influence of what Prabhupada started. This is the revolution taking place. Gradually people will become enlightened and they will get new ideas. Because this is how I think at least, that before the new age, the golden age of Mahaprabhu can really take root, of course this modern society has to be destroyed first. And that will happen. Nature will simply remove all the demons and the atheists, so there will be more, if not devotees, at least alternatively minded people. People who will accept new things left on the planet. And that's how the golden age will take root. And then in the end, we'll have a prime minister with tilak and neck beads. Yeah. But that may take some time. It may not be... Huh?
And Bindi.
And Bindi also. Even already in India, they have that. In Indira Gandhi. She had a Bindi. And she was one of the first female prime ministers in the world. It's funny because the first female prime minister in the world was Pakistani. And it's such a Muslim country, they regard women as more or less as dirt. But they had the first female prime minister. What was her name?
Benazir Bhutto.
Yeah, Benazir Bhutto. Yeah. But India came quite after that. She was before the English, what's her name?
Margaret Thatcher.
Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, India was big before that. So females, they can also be politicians. Of course, in the ideal society, a female won't act as a politician because it's a kshatriya position. But in the modern society, we don't differentiate so much. We don't demand to have pure varnashram ideals. That's impossible in the modern society. Just like female gurus in ISKCON. There's no doubt that ISKCON is very heavily influenced by Western thinking. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Prabhupada didn't think it was a bad thing. He started ISKCON as a Western movement, and he said that the Western technology and the Western know-how will be a good tool to spread the knowledge from India, Krishna consciousness. So he wasn't against it. He understood that you have to take the knowledge from the West and the influence from the West to spread Krishna consciousness. He knew exactly what he was doing because he tried to start the Krishna movement in India and nobody wanted to listen to him. So he went to America. And that was a very, very clever move because who else but the Americans could have spread Hare Krishna in a few 10, 12 years all over the planet. Prabhupada would tell one disciple, you go to France, you go to Germany, and they would immediately go completely alone and just sit on the sidewalk with a pair of carters and chant Hare Krishna. And that's how they started the temple. Imagine those early disciples, they had nothing. Like me, I can't do anything if I don't have facilities, if I don't have a nice bed to sleep in. They were ready to do anything, and only the Americans could do that, the Americans with their Ruha mentality. Imagine that, Prabhupada went to Denmark and asked them, now you're going to spread Hare Krishna all over the world. Not a chance. The Americans are very good at that because they are the world #1 empire and they have this feeling of superiority. And Prabhupada used that to spread the Hare Krishna movement. Very, very smart. Because they were completely, they're already like that. Woo-ha!
Yeehaw!
Yeah, woo-ha! They're already like that. And then you add Krishna to that. Haribol! And they just stormed out into the world and started their Hare Krishna movement. Fantastic. And Prabhupada was so appreciative. He always said, you have been sent by my guru to help me spread this Hare Krishna movement. He was so appreciative. He loved his disciples. And nowadays we think basically Americans, they're pretty stupid over there. But we should remember, as far as I'm concerned, there's only one good thing about America, and that's the Hare Krishna movement. They started Hare Krishna. Otherwise, it's an insane country. Have you been there? Completely insane. So, but we have, what we are up against is Maya. So, we should understand that the only one who can remove Maya is Krishna or his devotee. By the desire, the deep felt, genuine desire of a devotee, you can also remove Maya. And that means you have to pray. That's what we do. Pray constantly. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's a prayer to remove Maya. The Hare Krishna mantra is simply a prayer to remove Maya and to be engaged in Krishna service. So we pray constantly, and we should pray for ourselves to have Maya removed from our hearts, but also when we go out and deal with people, we should think inside, please Krishna, bless this person. And in this way Maya will be removed, and then you can actually talk sense to people. Thank you very much for your kind presence and attendance. Are there any comments or questions? Yes?
It said in the report that it's only possible to realize Krishna in the association of devotees.
Yes.
And so that I just, I think that we make so many excuses. The mind is there, and we're not careful. The mind makes so many excuses how to avoid devotees. This and that. There are neophytes. There is that. And that's another aspect of Maya. She's already covered us over by criticizing, because then we can approach Krishna. If we're not, if this was, if there was more focus on that,
Yes, it's true. And it's so obvious. It's just like if you want to become a football player, what do? You associate with football players. You don't sit alone in your flat and think, I want to become a football player. No, you go out and join a team. And in the same way, you don't sit at home alone and think, no, I want to become a devotee. You have to go and join the team of devotees. Because social pressure can be a good thing, especially in the association of devotees. Like it's social pressure that I get up every morning and come from Mangalati. If I was alone, I wouldn't do it. But because I know the devotees are going to be there and they'll think I'm in Maya if I don't come. So then I come. That's the mercy of the devotees. That's the association of devotees. That's why it's so important. Prabhupada says it's only possible to develop bhakti in the association of devotees. Because birds of a feather flock together. You have to associate with like-minded people. It's a fact. And it's an obvious thing. It's not even like some mystical thing. Of course, in the association of devotees is a mystical thing. Because it's actually a mystical thing that a person who has been steeped like me, been steeped in Maya and we have all been here for millions and billions of lifetimes, and then now we're trying to surrender. That's actually a mystical thing. We're trying to become free from Maya and become Krishna's pure devotees. That's very mystical. But it's quite, yes? Nothing? No, I forget what I was going to say.
Well, it was just this thing about the US, because I traveled 2 years, back and forth from San Diego and to Florida. So, but I only saw the campuses at the universities. I didn't see anything else.
Right.
And it seems to me that it's such a huge country, just like India, where you have the best of the best and the worst of the worst. There's so much polarization. Yeah, so for me to be at these campuses where you are, it was just like parks, it was like heavenly. It just were students were just strolling along, and when you talk to them about this crazy government, and they couldn't really relate to this government over there in Washington. They said they're like kids, they're like now going into Afghanistan and just like kids. And so in Denmark, it seems like we have such a small country, and it seems like the youth, at least is little. Not only, but we are much more controlled here, I think, at least in the US, for example, if you talked about Madhavendra Puri had this book about extraterrestrials, life on other planet.
Yeah.
And it was like nearly every day I met somebody who had seen a UFO, who had a grandmother who had seen one, or something like this. So it was much easy. It was very easy to distribute books, like Beyond Birth and Death, An Easy Journey to Other Planets, because they seemed to me like to be quite philosophical, like that. So you have that part also of the US.
Yes, of course. That was my when I was an exchange student in the United States, the American, the mainstream American on the street, he's a very nice person, very open-minded. But you also you meet, like you said, the polarization, the extremes are very, very choked up. You have, you have also these completely ignorant, redneck, racist Americans. But of course, you don't speak to them in the university campus, but they are also a big part of the population. And I would say in America you have the most intelligent people and you have the most stupid people. In Denmark, it's a smaller country and you don't really find such real racist rednecks in Denmark as you do in America. We're so completely in Tamagotchi. I would say you don't find that so much in Denmark. People are more, actually Denmark was one of the first egalitarian countries where, my best friend in Mayapur, Murari Gupta, he comes from this high-class English family. He grew up, with Rolls Royce servants, lived in a big mansion, went to a private boarding school. And when I tell him about Denmark, he can't understand how when we grew up, it was like everybody's just equal. There's not this division between rich and poor in Denmark because everybody was more or less well off. It may be different now, but at least when I grew up, there was those who lived in flats and those who lived in houses. But there was everybody was the same, and they went to the same school and they interacted. Whereas if you come from a high-class family in England, you don't interact with the riff-raff and the shooters. But in Denmark, everybody is equal and they interact equally. So that can also be an advantage. Even though it's, Prabhupada says it's more or less nonsense, this idea of equality, because materially nobody is equal. It's only on the spiritual platform that we are actually equal. But we can use this material equality that we have in Denmark. We can use this to explain to people about the spiritual equality, and that's the only equality. Really. Because there's no material equality. Somebody is always more intelligent or less intelligent, or more beautiful or less beautiful, or more rich or less rich. You still find inequalities. So it's only by Krishna consciousness that we can actually be equal. There's also a difference between males and females. Like sometimes I think females are a complete different species. They think differently, they feel differently, they're just different persons. But on the spiritual platform, that's why I was saying this about the female gurus. You cannot, it's an unavoidable thing in the ISKCON as far as I'm concerned. And it's a mature consideration. If you say, female, it's a social thing. Okay, in the Varnashram system in India, maybe you don't have female gurus. But it's a mature consideration to say a female cannot be a guru. Because it's based on the body. And we're supposed to have teachings which are beyond the body.
Every mother is supposed to be Guru.
Yes. Of course, every female is a guru to her children. But even initiating gurus in ISKCON, now they're debating whether they should be allowed or not be allowed. As far as I'm concerned, you don't have to legislate about it. If somebody wants a female guru, yes, and a female guru is qualified, then what's to stop that? And this Western thing about females and males being equal is very heavy in the West, especially in Scandinavia. like they even have laws, you know, like in Norway and Sweden, they have a law that they have to have so many women in the parliament. By law, they have. I think Sweden is the country in the world that has most females in leading positions on different boards, CEOs, and so on. So it may not be ideal according to the Vedic system, where females, because of their psychology, are not meant to be, CEOs and politicians, and they actually will be more satisfied by adopting a female role. Not necessarily that she should just stay home and take care of the family and cook, although that's what Prabhupada actually says. He says females don't need any education, they just need to sew, and they just need to learn how to sew and cook and take care of their husband. And if a woman is honest, and she will actually be satisfied by doing that. But of course, we have grown up in a Western society, and so therefore women, they think this is complete nonsense to just stay at home and cook and take care of their husbands. They want their own careers. And that influence is in ISKCON also, and we cannot avoid it. And I don't think we're meant to avoid it. I think it's meant to be there. It's part of the
skoleklokken.
Christian. Yeah. Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki.
Yeah.